Hello, I'm Andrea Delzato,
And I'm Andrew Delzato.
and we're part of the executive team at the Tridel Group of Companies.
At Deltera, safety is one of our core values, and we are proud to be amongst the leaders in health and safety in the construction industry. Your safety on our job sites is of paramount concern to us.
Our first priority is to eliminate injuries, illnesses, and other workplace incidents which may adversely affect our employees or any other party.
Your participation in and compliance with all aspects of our health and safety program and any laws and regulations will result in a safer work environment. This will ensure you return home to your family every day.
So please exercise your rights and ensure you comply with your responsibilities by putting safety first at all times.
As you observe the following video, please take note of your rights and our expectations. Please ensure you commit yourself to be a key participant in our goal to maintain an accident-free workplace.
At Deltera, our work begins and ends with your safety being our highest priority. It is critical you take safety seriously by learning how to best protect yourself on the job site at all times. Accidents can and do happen to workers of all ages and experience levels. Knowing your rights, responsibilities, and acting safely is key to avoiding injury and maintaining a safe working environment. In the next few minutes, you'll learn about the risks and how to minimize them to help Deltera have an accident-free job site. Under Ontario health and safety laws, you have the right to a safe workplace. You have the right to know about hazards in the workplace. You have the right to participate in health and safety topics. And you have the right to refuse any work you think might be unsafe. Workers also have several important responsibilities under Ontario legislation. You are required to comply with all sections of the Occupational Health and Safety Act and the construction regulations. You must use or wear the equipment, protective device, or required clothing. You must report any hazard or missing defective equipment or protective device. You must not remove any safety protective device or make them ineffective without providing an adequate temporary protective device. You must not use or operate any equipment, machine, device, or work in a manner that may endanger you or any other worker. It is essential that you stay informed about the hazards on the site. Information is available through training, toolbox talks, and the Workplace Hazardous Materials Information System, also known as WHMIS. At a minimum, all workers on the site must have completed WHMIS and working at heights training. Additional training is required for many other specific tools and specialized work. Supervisors must ensure all their workers have the required training specific to the trade. The following may require special safety training and a copy of your training card certificate to be kept in the site office. Working in confined spaces, working on power elevated work platforms, suspended access or swing stage, stilts, working with power tools, hoisting and rigging, propane or other gases, traffic control or signal person. And for trades falling under the Trades and Qualifications and Apprenticeship Act, you are required to carry your license with you at all times while on site. All employers working on the site are required to complete a weekly safety talk. A copy of the safety talk must be submitted to the Deltera site office on a weekly basis. Attendance at the weekly safety talk is mandatory, and you're encouraged to ask questions and raise any safety concerns. You are required to use the following safety protocols on Deltera job sites: post warning signs, erect fencing or hoarding, reduce noise, dust, and keep the site safe via barriers and a buffer between the site and public areas. Create pedestrian routes and overhead protection. Plus, schedule work during a time when there is the least amount of public. Supervisors are required to organize and communicate work plans and enforce safety standards, but it is important that you participate in the safety process. Help by inspecting work areas and equipment and joining project safety committees. You have the right to refuse to do unsafe work. If you're assigned work you think is unsafe, we expect you to refuse. This is a last resort. Under normal circumstances, the best course of action is to fix the hazard by advising your supervisor of your concern. Inspect the work area together if necessary. A worker's safety representative can help. If safety can be improved, do it. In the event of an injury, one or more first aid stations are located on site. Locations will be shown to you during your orientation. Deltera office staff is trained in first aid, but your employer is also required to provide for first aid. All injuries must be reported to Deltera management. In the event of an injury, you must know where to go. Designated emergency gathering areas will be shown to you during orientation. Remember, safety is not only your right, it's your duty. You are required to know the rules and obey the rules for all Deltera construction sites. No one under 18 is allowed on the site. All workers are required to provide proof of training or competency before beginning work. Additional documentation may be required depending on the project. The law prohibits you from smoking in the workplace. Being under the influence at work is a serious offense. If you are impaired by drugs or alcohol while on site, you'll be banned from the project. Theft will not be tolerated. Get permission before borrowing something from its owner. Unauthorized photography is not permitted on site. Do not override or disable safety devices. This is a serious safety violation that could cause an injury and result in your removal from the site. Please use the washroom facilities that are provided and keep them clean and operating properly. You may not opt out on safety. When you come on site, you are agreeing to work towards an accident-free workplace. A blatant disregard for safety will lead to your removal. You now know the rules and what is required of Deltera. Now, let's talk about what we expect from you. You are required to report all injuries to your foreman and obtain first aid or medical treatment. Report hazardous conditions to your foreman. Follow project and employer safety rules. Participate in training when required. WMIS training is mandatory before being cleared to work. Your employer is required to provide a current safety data sheet. This sheet contains important information for the safe handling and storage of the products that you use and how to clean up spills. Providing the proper handling equipment is also the responsibility of your employer. You must be in the proper mindset to think and act safely at all times. Communication is key to a safe work site. If you aren't sure of what you're supposed to do or how to do it, ask a supervisor. If for any reason there are jobs you can't do, you need to inform your supervisor. It is your supervisor's responsibility to give you safe work assignments. It is critical that you only do work that you're qualified to do. For example, only an electrician is allowed to do electrical work. Otherwise, you are only allowed to plug and unplug power equipment and run undamaged extension cords. You must report all injuries, no matter how minor you think they are. If you receive medical care, advise your foreman of all appointments and have your doctor complete an FAF form every time you are treated for a work-related injury. If you see a potential hazard and you can fix it without putting yourself in danger, do it. Otherwise, you are required by law to immediately report the hazard to your supervisor. You can help achieve an accident-free workplace by joining a joint health and safety committee or worker trades committee. JHSC members try to improve safety for everyone. WTC reps typically focus on their specific trade. If you're not serving on a safety committee, please give your representatives your full support. Safety at work actually starts at home before your shift. You are required to wear long pants or full-length overalls and a shirt with sleeves. Muscle shirts are not permitted. Even if you are working outside, long sleeves are recommended to reduce the risk of sunburn. You are required to properly wear a CSA-approved Class E hard hat. You are not allowed to wear anything underneath that alters the fit of the hat or obstructs your vision. CSA-approved footwear with the green triangle logo is required on the job site. The work boots must be fully laced and be at least 6 inches high to protect your ankles. The type of gloves you should wear is determined by the work you're doing. Cut-resistant gloves should be worn when handling sharp objects. The safety data sheet will tell you which gloves to wear when handling chemicals. Depending on the work you're doing, you're required to wear CSA-approved eye or face protection on site. You can wear safety glasses for general protection from small flying particles. Before handling chemicals, consult the safety data sheet for the appropriate protective eyewear. In some cases, you'll need to wear a full face shield. You should wear hearing protection, particularly in noisy areas. Your supervisor can provide the proper protection and instructions. You are required to wear a CSA-approved reflective vest if you are A. working with or nearby heavy equipment, B. directing traffic, or C. signaling vehicles backing up, items being hoisted, or working near overhead power lines. If you are performing signaling duties, you must carry your proof of training with you. Depending on the work you're doing, you may be required to wear respiratory protection. You will need an N95 filter mask or better for dust hazards. If you're working with chemicals, consult the safety data sheet for the appropriate protection. You may also need other personal protective equipment. Consult a job hazard analysis to help you select the appropriate equipment. Good safety habits begin before work, but they are essential during the workday too. It is important to inspect your work area every day before starting work. If something isn't right, make the necessary changes and consult your supervisor. For explosive actuated tools, you are required to keep proof of training where your tools are stored and do not leave your tools unattended. Keeping everything neat and tidy in your work area is an important safety routine. Storage areas should be well organized so that you can retrieve materials easily when you need them. Do not store anything in doorways or stairwells. You need to keep work and lunch areas free of debris and garbage and properly dispose of the trash. You are legally required to clean up after yourself every day. It is your employer's job to provide enough receptacles for garbage and debris for you to keep your area clean. Please put your trash in the proper container. Do not work in the dark. Deltera provides temporary lighting at entry and exit points along passageways and in stairwells and common areas. If your area is not properly lit, ask your supervisor for better lighting. Let's talk about how to avoid injury in some of the most hazardous parts of the construction site. Falls are a leading cause of accidents on the job site. If you will be exposed to a fall hazard, it is critical that you be trained in the selection, inspection, maintenance, and use of fall protection equipment, and you must carry proof of that training. All fall protection equipment must be CSA approved and inspected prior to use. A professional engineer must design your horizontal static line system. Engineering drawings must be provided to Deltera's site office. Remember, a fall could cost you your life. Always use your fall protection equipment when removing or installing safety fences or guards, erecting or dismantling a scaffold, working on suspended access equipment, and using power-elevated work platforms. Falls coupled with the exposed rebar can also be a deadly mix. Rebar protection in the form of candy-canned ends or using the proper cap is imperative anytime rebar is an impalement hazard. Unless specified, it is the responsibility of the subcontractor that installs the rebar to ensure any exposed rebar ends are properly protected. However, you have a responsibility to replace the rebar caps that have fallen off or ones that have been removed during work and are not replaced. Anytime you're exposed to a fall of more than 2.4 meters or 8 feet, a guardrail must be installed. The installation of guardrails is typically the responsibility of the professional that created the fall point. Workers on the edge must be equipped with an adequate tool tether to prevent falling objects. If you remove a guardrail to do work on an unguarded edge, you must put up a temporary barrier to warn others to stay away from the area. Before leaving the area for any reason, you must promptly replace the guardrail and secure it properly. Use of bump lines as edge protection must be reviewed by a qualified, competent person. What about hazards under the ground? A valid utility locate is required before you dig. It must be reviewed by everyone involved in the excavation. Once you dig, sloping must be maintained according to soil type. Access to the excavation can be by ladder, stairs, ramp, or an earth ramp that provides a secure footing. The edge of the excavation must be protected anytime there's a chance a worker or vehicle will be near the excavation, or if the slope exceeds a 1-to-1 ratio. Subcontractors who create openings are responsible for covering any opening more than 4 inches in diameter. Covers must be sturdy, properly secured, and clearly marked with the words "danger hole" or a circle with an X in the middle. Select the appropriate ladder for the work to be done. A-frame ladders are not permitted. Only platform ladders are to be used on Deltera projects, and workers must stand on the platform at all times. For access ladders, you must lean straight ladders on an angle. As a guide, the height of the ladder to the point at which it touches the wall or structure should be about 3 or 4 times the distance of the base of the ladder from the support point. You must secure access ladders on both the top and bottom to prevent movement. Side rails must extend 3 feet above the landing. While climbing or descending, you must face the ladder and maintain 3-point contact at all times. Scaffolding must be erected by a trained worker who complies with all the manufacturer's instructions. A platform more than 8 feet high must be planked across its entire width and have guardrails installed. Rolling scaffolds, including Baker scaffolds, are to have the wheels locked at all times when a worker is on the platform. Scaffolds are to be inspected on a daily basis by a trained worker. Some scaffolds need to be engineered. Always check the legal requirements. When working on elevated platforms, proof of training must be with you at all times. You must be secured to the platform. Keep your feet on the floor while working and never stand on the guardrails or climb on them. Always inspect your path for hazards or obstructions and remove anything in the way. Lifts must be inspected daily before being used. The results of the inspection must be recorded. Electrical cables on site can pose a serious hazard. Treat all cables as live. A site map shows the location of cables. It is your responsibility to know where they are on site. Every effort will be made to avoid running cables across pathways, but you need to be aware of buried cables, cables running on the ground, and those strung overhead. Electrical cords also need to be protected from damage. Compressed gas cylinders pose an explosion hazard, which is why you're not allowed to store cylinders inside a building. Cylinders used inside the building must be connected to a system or represent no more than 1 day's working supply. Subcontractors must provide their own outdoor storage facility in a location approved by Deltera storage facilities, and cylinders must comply with legal standards. All cylinders must be secured in an upright position. When it comes to flammable liquids, you are only allowed to store a 1-day supply inside a building. Keep liquids properly sealed in suitable containers to prevent evaporation and contamination of the workplace. Rags or cloths contaminated with flammable liquids must be disposed of in CSA-approved waste containers provided by the contractor. Waste containers must be properly emptied daily. Smoking is not permitted near flammable or combustible materials, even if you're outside. If you're working with an open flame or generating sparks, you must have a fire extinguisher within reach. Deltera provides extinguishers for base building protection. Do not relocate them without authorization. All fire extinguishers must be a minimum of 4A40BC rating and be inspected monthly. You must remove flammable or combustible materials from all hot work areas prior to starting work. When work is completed, you must inspect the work area to ensure no ignition source is present. You should use the proper handling equipment whenever possible. Avoid manual handling. Cranes can be an extreme hazard if proper safety rules are not followed. You must secure all crane loads to prevent loose items from becoming detached. It is the responsibility of the crane contractor to clear any area over which a crane load will pass. It is a serious safety violation to fail to clear or leave the area when instructed. While a crane is in use, the crane operator and workers directing the load are only allowed to communicate with each other. No outside calls of any kind. When mobile cranes are in use, loading and laydown areas must be enclosed with red tape and signs indicating danger due to overhead hazard. Mobile cranes may travel with extended booms or suspended loads so long as equipment limitations are strictly followed. Crane operators must have their qualifications in their possession. They also must perform daily logbook checks and must ensure that wind speed and load limits set up by the crane manufacturer is followed at all times. Landing platforms must be erected according to the engineer's drawing, and load capacity must be clearly labeled. Before you use a landing platform, make sure your load does not exceed the weight capacity. Make sure workers are on hand to receive the load. Everyone on the platform must wear fall protection equipment when the outside gate is open. After your load is on the platform, move material away from the loading area as quickly as possible to reduce congestion. Make sure safety gates are in place when leaving the area. Landing platforms with chains are not allowed. Avoid the use of equipment powered by internal combustion engines when working inside. Instead, use electric-powered equipment when possible. Subcontractors are responsible for providing proper ventilation for all equipment that produces exhaust gases. Air monitors for carbon monoxide must be used by each contractor using combustible engines in enclosed areas. All mobile equipment used on site must be equipped with a backup alarm. A signaler must direct all trucks operating in reverse. The company receiving the load is responsible for providing the signaler. Warning signs and caution tape are important safety tools to be provided by each contractor to support its activities. Signs warning of a particular hazard should be used with yellow caution tape to identify the dangerous area. Yellow caution tape warns of an increased risk in the area, but red danger tape indicates a serious hazard. You may only enter a red-taped area if you're authorized to work there. When you have finished your work in a taped-off area and the hazard no longer exists, you must immediately remove the caution tape under the direction of your supervisor. Discipline for violating safety rules is primarily the responsibility of your supervisor. However, if your supervisor fails to act, Deltera will step in if the violation is serious enough. Safety and the prevention of accidents is always the objective. Discipline is designed to change behavior, not to punish you. Typically, we have a three-step process. First, you will receive a documented verbal warning that indicates that you've been told to stop unsafe behavior. If you continue acting in an unacceptable manner, the second step is a written warning, notifying you of your failure to adhere to safety standards. At this point, we expect your supervisor to take action to correct the infraction. A third violation will result in your temporary or permanent suspension from the site due to your failure to address the safety concern and your supervisor's failure to address the issue. Also, a monetary penalty will be imposed for each worker that is suspended from the site. A levy of $500 will be deducted from the next scheduled payment to your company. These are general guidelines. It is Deltera's discretion to determine the appropriate discipline. Remember, it should be our collective goal to have an accident-free work site. What if an accident occurs? What should you do? Keep in mind that someone's life depends on you. Before helping an injured coworker, make sure the area is safe. Look for chemicals or sources of electricity that could be creating a hazard. Do not move the injured worker. If you are not trained in first aid, call for someone who is. If you are going to the project office for help, make sure someone remains with the injured worker. Staff in the Deltera office will need to know the exact location of the accident. What appears to have happened? The general condition of the injured worker. Is the worker conscious, bleeding, breathing? Be brief and accurate so Deltera can effectively relay this information to emergency medical services. Finally, do not disturb the accident scene more than is absolutely necessary to care for the injured worker. An investigation will be conducted to determine how the accident happened and to help prevent future accidents. At Deltera, your safety is our top priority, but you have to do your part each and every day. Accidents can happen to you regardless of your age or experience. Take safety seriously. Be vigilant at all times. Together, we can produce an accident-free workplace, and we'll all go home safely every night. Nothing matters more.